for the fourth webinar of the IPR4SC project. And today we will be speaking about the importance of the IPR tools and databases and the relevance of the knowledge that they have for the innovation and business growth. And also on the side of the things, we will try to also explain to you what is IPR databases and tools, show some of them for you, and also I would ask our speaker to also give some examples. So just to present our, me as a moderator today, but also to present our experts, my good colleagues and excellent, IPR4SC team members, Dolores Modis, who is a professor at Nord University, with an extensive list of extremely well-defined knowledge and the personal traits and qualities to make her a good professional in the field of intellectual property and circular economy. And I'm also happy to present today and say hello to a person that I respect enormously, Giovanni Penigiani, who is working in Requadro, a company dealing with the same issue that we're going to be speaking today, the application of IPR knowledge, the utilization of IPR tools in the integration of this knowledge into
in progress.
Into the activities of
recording
business
stopped
and into the into the boosting of innovative potential of businesses. So Dolores, Giovanni, I'm very happy to greet you today, and for now I would stop my share, and Dolores, maybe you can take it from here. Please just tell us a few words about what is IPR databases, what is IPR
recording
tools,
in progress,
and then we can take it from here.
I'm just going to share my screen as well while I do this. Give me just a second to make it work. And today it seems it's large enough to do this. So thanks so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here today. And with Giovanni, we'll try to talk a little bit about IP data, IP databases, IP tools, and how that can actually help with business growth, with business decisions, with what you can actually get from this type of data. I'll start off, and then Giovanni will take over in this first part, and then we'll happily answer any questions you have remaining. And with that said, let's just kind of jump right in. I'm hoping you see my screen. Yes?
That's good. Yes.
Okay, that's lovely. So, so let's jump into this. Just as a reminder, and for those that don't deal many times with IP data, intellectual property rights data, right? You have different types that related to patents, that related to trademarks and to other IP, right? And of course, it can support the intellectual property strategy when you look at this type of data, but then it can also support your other strategies, right? The technology strategy, you can see where are the white spots, that there's some space there, where maybe not. Also, it can be connected to your product and market strategy. You can see, from this type of data, for example, there's a patent that's valid in this country, but maybe there isn't one there, and the same goes for your own patents, right? It can also help you with understanding the competitive landscape, who's out there, can be in so much that you want to maybe avoid something, but it can also help you understand who's out there, who can you collaborate with, who can you connect to, right? And so on. So in general, right, companies use patent and other IP data as part of their business intelligence, right? As well as to improve the services and products, because there are also a big library of knowledge. And the whole project that we're doing this inside of deals with sustainability and circularity. And I think Giovanni's case will go later on a little bit into this direction. So you can also see how this type of data can help support the individual companies transformation to a more circular, sustainable company, but that could also go more broadly, in terms of what are the technological trends that support this and so on. So it's also good intelligence on a more general level. But I think, Giovanni, today you'll focus more on being more practical and showcasing a case instead. All right. But when we start dealing with this type of data, right, this is basically what we get, right? It's big data, right? Meaning it's these extremely large data sets, right, that you can be analyzed computationally, and then some patterns, some trends, and so on can be revealed from them, right? And we could talk about these 3 V's of big data. The first V was the volume that I was talking about now, but this just to give you kind of a more tangible example of this. Some of the tools we will mention later on, they have, for example, 140 million or thereabout patent documents, right? So it is large data sets. If you would add to this the documents that have supported the registration, the application, the maintenance of these, and these documents are sometimes also available to you, then we're talking about billions of observations, okay? Just to have that in mind. The second of the 3 V's is the velocity. So it's both fast changing as well. It's related to having some computational power if you do it roughly. That's why with Giovanni, we'll also talk about IP tools and so on. So some analytical support as well. And then there's variety, right? These kind of data can be in different of different types. So having this means that we first need to understand what is we are trying to observe, right? Going from this mass of data to specifying what we are interested in. And that's quite a big step, right? And not to talk about the next step where we're trying to interpret this data and get some valuable insights for us from this data. All right, but I keep saying data, right? And just to kind of put it in perspective, this IP data, it's also good business for providers, right? I like this example of Patsnap, right? They're a so-called unicorn. So it's a company that's valuated for $1 billion, over $1 billion, right? Providing this intellectual property data to customers. I like the case because it is a university spin-off, right? So it was supported by the National University of Singapore, right? And then let's keep with this kind of IP data and IP sources. What we have typically would be something we could call internal data sources. And then we would have external data sources, right? And in terms of internal data sources, it can be the R&D data, but it can be also other types of data that support this. For example, marketing data, right? I said before, we want also to align our IP strategy, our marketing strategy, and so on, right? So that can be very, very valuable to us. Aside from this internal data, because you should never look at it in isolation, right? It's also a variety of diverse external data sources. First, we have the intellectual property rights databases. They can be public, they can be private. I'll say a few words about that as well later on, but also other types, right? Can be business databases, right? So this is this part where you needn't look at this IP data is isolation, but imagine you're a small SME. You see there's something going on in terms of technology, or there is an opportunity from the patent data. However, perhaps because you're small, you want to grow, you would also like to know, is there venture capital available in this sphere, right? So you also want to kind of add on to your knowledge base with that. And then, of course, we have publication databases, we have internet-based data sources, and so on. And then, of course, we have also these multi-source IP databases where we're merging some data. And I left from the original article this linked open data enabled data sets. We've done a few years ago for the European Patent Office a project called IP linked open data building bridges. And it goes to that issue of variety, so we can have data of different types. And this was a specific type called linked open data. It was patent data. What we've done, we've linked it to publication data, right, in this particular format. And then, of course, all of these can be, supported, integrated into diverse IPR software tools, right? But it's always about people, isn't it? I'll talk about augmented intelligence in the end, but in the end, it is always about the people behind it. And these types of data are of interest to a variety of diverse stakeholders, right? Okay. So I mentioned a little bit this, things can be private, things can be public. So it relates well to this question of open access. And here's a general rule. And it's a general rule because we'll show you examples that defy this as well. But as a general rule, a lot of IP databases are open, right? They're open because patent offices and other IP offices often have a mandate to collect, but also make publicly available this type of data, right? If we move on, the IP tools are typically payable, yeah? But for that, they give often extra value, right? They would, for example, merge different types of data, what I was discussing before. If we think about these two examples below, what you would get would be also beside the patent information. So on the technical side, on trends you can get from in terms of innovation and so on, you would also get business data about these companies that are behind it, from profits to employment numbers, et cetera, right? Venture capital data I was mentioning before, mergers and acquisitions data, what is going on this market, who's buying up these maybe smaller companies, industry trend reports, news, publications, right? All of these would be here. And then we have so-called freemium tools. Eureka would be one example of this. With that one, what I want to say here is something else. Sometimes it's about merging data, but sometimes it's about also showing us some patterns they find in this data, right? Here's a small example. When we were doing this project, IPR4SC now, we tested all of these tools that we're talking about now. And we've tested them using a small example. We said, oh, it's a sorting machine, and it has these different types of sensors. And so it goes through e-waste and is trying to understand what can be reused, what could be repurposed, and so on, right? And here what you can see is, if you think about different elements of this, there are different areas of technical advancement. You know, what the innovators are now striving for. If you think about recycling disposal, you can see it's all about cost reduction. So there's a lot of innovation going towards that. If you would think about the crushing mechanism, it would be innovation is very lively in terms of how do we avoid failures doing so, right? So you have these kind of insights as well available. And then we said, you know, this is a general rule, but of course there are exceptions. And within the IPR4SC project, what we've done, we also took a look at those that are freely available to you and analyze them. So we have some reports on this also on the website if you would follow the scan, the QR code here. All right. We know AI is a big topic today, right? And I like to talk more about the augmented intelligence, or from a perspective of augmented intelligence, right? Is this kind of a human-centered partnership model, right? Which, if you have the people and artificial intelligence kind of working together to enhance performance, etc., right? That, of course, in terms of AI and IP tools, means we also need to be able to intelligently use these tools, as well as it means we need to be able to understand some of the limitations of these types of tools, right? If we talk about human-centric limitations, they're always the general ones here. You know, what data are we inputting? What are we asking? How are we asking, right? So I think now with this Chat GPT and similar tools being very common and known to us, it's no different in any of the IP tools that has this AI support, right? But it is also issues that are related to the tool itself, to the AI itself. So these more technical issues that are at the background, you know, what type of data is there? Is it, you know, is it daily refreshed? Is it refreshed every 2 months only, and so on? As well as, you know, there's this discussion about this knowledge collapse going on recently, right? Because a lot of these tools and the algorithms inside them, they basically or kind of naturally generate output that goes towards some kind of a center, right? Center of distribution. That's how they work. They look at similarities, they look at centrality. So it means that things that are marginal, and that's where a lot of times innovation happens, are getting dropped from our view. And that can also be problematic. But saying that, right, of course, there's also benefits of these tools in general, but they're similar also in terms of AI-supported IP tools, right? They can process vast amounts of data very, very fast. They can generate new insights. They can help us enhance productivity, being faster in all stages of patenting, managing the patents, understanding their use, and so on. What we've done More recently, we've been looking at these IP tools, and we're asking ourselves, oh, okay, we had some tools before, right? How do these, if we try to do a search with these new AI-supported options, how does that compare? And what we can see from kind of the begin stages of this research is that it's kind of additional or complementary. They also bring good results. However, they are diverse from the ones that we had from the tools that we were using before. Interestingly, also when we compare them, the results between one and the other, they also bring relatively divergent results. So that's interesting, but it also brings this question about, which tools and how to use them, which tool to choose. There's always cost in there's a cost in starting up with a new tool, even if it would be for free, because it is cost of our upskilling to use it. And then there are potential large costs when changing from one IP tool to another, right? Both in terms of transferring the data, again, upskilling, and so on. All right. Here's just a little snippet of, playing with these tools. This one was from IP Rally. So it's pretty similar to how you would use ChatGPT. Here I was using, questioning what is the core of this invention. So trying to kind of speed up my understanding of this. And then the second question also showcases this, you need to give it sufficient information, right? It says here at the end, however, without knowing the details of your chocolate picker invention, I cannot say anything more, right? Okay, the very last part I want to point out to is there is a lot of resources out there, right? And so one question that I've kind of was foreshadowing just now was, what is out there? Can something help me with that? And so that's what we've done within the IPR project, or try to do within this IPR4SC project. And we've prepared an IP monitor, which is kind of a signaling tool, right? Showing you what's out there in terms of databases, in terms of IP tools, in terms of other resources, technology transfer databases, and so on. So we collected and analyzed over 650 resources. And Christian, if I have another moment, I'll just show, I will just show this, what we have. So this is the database here, and you can see what we've collected, or this tool here. We have IP databases, we have IP tools, we have TTOs, we have attorneys and lawyers. And I just want to show you a little something what you can get, right? And I'll just start with the latest addition to it, which is the startups. If you look at types of IPR, and let's apply the filter. Here we go. Okay, so these would be databases that are related to startups. But why did we put them here? So the database also includes, other than the funding information, members, individuals in leadership positions, mergers, acquisitions, but also they include information about the company's IPs, right? And you can see the number of records again here, quite large, over 2 million, right? But it is a paywall tool, right? Meaning it is a payable tool. If I show you a similar one, which would be PitchBook, you will see again, there is also information about their IP. There is a different provider in this one, but again, it's a paywall, right? Whereas Deep Tech Funder is a European Patent Office tool. And that one is free open access, right? And it has this information about investment-ready European startups, but those that have patent applications, right? So they provide information about their IP as well. But you will see the number of records is lower, right? Is comparably lower. But it is also meant to work a little bit as a platform. Right. If I would return to this and remove the filter and just show you another one in the IP tools realm, it doesn't really matter. I can choose whatever, but you can also see we've tried to talk about accessibility. Is it free open access? Is it freemium? Is it paywall? We've also analyzed if there is some AI present within the tool itself. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Let's do IP Rally, which I was mentioning before. So you can see, again, description. We provide description of functionalities inside, data coverage, and then how the AI is present. But also we give other information, like if there's a demo possibility, we also provide the link to this demo for you to be able to try it on. Okay, I think with that I will stop and give the word to Giovanni.
Yes, thank you so much, Dolores. You can just stop the share, and I would truly invite Giovanni Pianigiani to more or less enhance what you were saying before now, and not only suggesting that this is important, but highlighting exactly how the IPR databases is used and can be applied into the real cases and the real life situations. Giovanni, please, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much, Christian, for your very nice introduction of before, and Dolores for your exhaustive introduction to this topic, which is quite, I would say, new and strange for many people. So it was really clear and linear. So thank you very much. And my role today and my aim will be to try give practical examples on how we can use IP tools and databases for the sake of specific business needs and strategic decisions. So in essence, what I will try to answer will be why and how could IP databases and IP tools be used for the sake of business decisions. First, I mean, the question that arises when we talk about sustainability, which is, I mean, one of the core topics in our project, would be what's the relationship between intellectual property rights and tools and databases with circularity and sustainability. And in this case, I mean, one of the very first assumptions that we can make is that there's no much difference between these domain, circularity and sustainability, and every other industrial or technological domain. So in essence, intellectual property can very much facilitate the sharing of knowledge and innovation, and can highlight the gaps in the intellectual property landscapes. What is of more importance in this domain is that circularity and sustainability is a very rapidly growing trend. So this stresses even more the concept of the importance, of sharing the knowledge, sharing the innovation, knowing who is working on certain topics, and having the opportunity to get in contact with the experts in the field. So it's really, in our mind, that's a really strong correlation and connection between these two domains. A first case study that I want to talk about is these SPICE surveys that at Requadro we conducted under the EU-funded project DigiPrime, a project that dealt with the need of designing a new circular business model, platform, enabling platform. The project is still going on, but what I want to talk about is a very tiny little part of it, which dealt with the patent analytics for the sake of helping one of the partners of the project getting information for the sake of their own business. So we're talking about a small company that is working with lithium battery recycling processes and wants to know whether it's beneficial for them to invest in growing their own processor or production processes, or whether it's more beneficial for them from a technological point of view to buy from external partners some processes and services. So what we did in this case was gathering data from our patent database, which contains actually more than 160 million documents. So we're talking, as Dolores was mentioning, we're talking of big data here. And what we did at first was understanding what the field is. So we're talking about lithium battery recycling process. What does it mean? It means methods and machines used to recycle waste lithium batteries. It means also ways of extracting materials from these batteries. And it means also methods for regenerating and repurposing these wasted products. So the starting point when we're talking about IP analytics, and especially when we're talking about patent analytics, would be gathering the right data, because you cannot, look at 160 million records and get an idea and be able of getting an idea. You need to focus on the real, on the very good data. So our starting point was gathering these good data, and the results was a very, relatively small data set of something more than 4,500 records. So we can see just now how we passed from big data to, I would say, small data here. And one thing that you can do when you have a very clean data set and you have the possibility to be sure that your data set is related to the topic of your interest, you can use any kind of data visualization to help you figuring out what's happening in the field. So for example, in this case, we were able to tell our partner that, okay, pay attention, because Europe is playing a very small role in this field, and most of the innovation throughout the world comes from the Asian region, especially from China and Japan. So you might be aware that, need to be aware that some players and competitors are not near the corner, and you might not be aware of every one of them. And from the other side, you can get an idea of how rapidly this field is growing. So just from plotting the temporal distribution of yearly filed patent families, we can see that this field has very rapidly grown over the last 5 to 10 years. So it's a really challenging, I would say, but also there's a big opportunity here to invest. But one thing that the right chart tells us is that the competition could be very strong and could come from every part of the world. So who are the the big players here? And once again, we saw that the big players were mostly Chinese and Japanese companies and universities with different patenting strategies. We can see, for example, that Japanese companies delivered a more constant and predictable, I would say also, strategy over the years. While on the other side, Chinese companies have strongly and aggressively entered these sectors. So it's something to, this gives us a second level of analysis and another point of view on what we already saw before. So we should pay more attention probably to Chinese players, not just because they own more patents than the others, but also because their strategy is very aggressive. So the next question would be, where should I invest? What's the technical problem? What's the technical area that's more convenient for me? Remember that I'm talking as if I'm an SME. So what's more convenient for me to invest in for the sake of reducing the initial competition, but also assuring that the yield would be, great. So one thing that you can do when you have a clean data set and when you know something about text mining and patents content is that you can extract and generalize the technical problems and technical solutions that each patent describes, and you can cluster these solutions and problems into something like this. So what we were able to deliver to our partner was a map of technical problems, which helped them figuring out what's the most convenient thing to do next and how to invest in the next round. The final product, and that's something that I wanted to stress, is, in this case, it was a platform, an online platform containing information and data regarding these 4,500 documents, patents, with associated metadata like the title, the abstract, the filing date, priority date, but also the technical problems and technical solutions that I was talking before, the technologies mentioned within the document, and the materials also mentioned within the document. So from a very wide point of view, what I was aiming to stress is that IP databases and tools can also be used to develop new IP databases and IP tools. So this could sound a little bit strange, but what we did was actually this. So we applied our own IP tools to our own IP databases to develop a different IP tool and different IP databases, which would be more narrow and concentrated on the field of interest for our partners. And you can imagine how this was a value for our partner, because they had the possibility to concentrate and focus only on the right data and not on 160 million records. So another case study here. So we're changing topic. And what I wanted to stress more with this case study is the relationship that can exist between IP analytics, once again, patent analytics, because we at R Quadro, that's what we do, and businesses. So we're not talking here of circularity. The case study revolves around the topic, but not the slides that I will present. We are talking about the initial phases. So I will rapidly go through the case study introduction. So we're talking about Method Products, who was born in early 2000. And their concept was, the initial concept of the company was to produce an eco-chic household cleaning product, but the market was very filled with cleaning products and with, I would say, cleaning bottles, let's say. So what were the fears of the company? We have the fear that we will fail because they, meaning our competitors, are big, are multinational companies, and we are small because initially there were only 2 people. So, and another question was, if it's so good, if our idea is so good, why hasn't anybody done it before? So I want to stress out how patent analytics and IP analytics in general can help you in answering these kind of questions that arise usually when starting a new business. So if we have a look at the general trend in this domain, which is liquid detergents, we can see that the numbers are very high. The trends, I mean, we're talking from the point of view of method products, so until 2002, the trend was really growing. And so, yeah, indeed, they were big, meaning the competition was very strong, and on the counter side, method products was small. So they were right. If we look at this chart, we can also see that the big players are here also big companies, multinational companies. So there's no chance that method products could compete with these players. But what if we narrow down the field of analysis from liquid detergents to dispensers for liquid detergents? The situation doesn't seem to change a lot here. So we see the same exact players on the right chart. So we can confirm that the competition is very high. But if we focus only on what the idea of the founders of method products was, so to design, as I was mentioning before, an eco-chic household cleaning product. So if we focus on the design part and the ergonomicity of the dispenser, we can see how the competition radically changes and how the players in the field also change. So startups and SMEs pop out in the list of the first 10, 15 players in the field. We can also see here from the left chart that basically every player in the field owns only one invention, only one patent family, apart from big corporations like Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, Unilever, okay? But the meaning of this information is that there is room for competition. So if we take a look at the temporal distribution that I was showing before and compare it with these, and we compare the 2 distributions related to these 2 different fields, the wider one and the narrower one, we can also see that the innovation trend was just starting at the time that method products was founded. So the answer to the questions, to the fears of the founders would be, no, they are not big. I mean, they are also big, but there is room for competition. And this is the right moment. This is the right time to invest. And your idea is good because not many people are working on it. So this could be a possible interpretation of this data that could lead to other analytics. So to sum up, what I wanted to stress out with this presentation is that IP tools and databases are really much correlated to business decisions, to investment decisions, and we can use them to formulate new business models. We can use them to create and develop new IP tools, and we can be creative with IP data in order to answer our fears and answer any more question that could arise from our business conduction. I would like just to conclude my presentation by inviting you, since, I mean, as Christian had already the opportunity to verify, no one of you has taken part to one of our courses. So I would like to invite you to a coming course that we are working on, and that will revolve around the concept of IP analytics, especially patent analytics. So the topics that we will deliver in this course will be a comprehensive introduction to patents. So you will be able to learn what patents are and what we are talking about when we talk about patents. So what are the features of a patent? How can a patent be filed and written? And what are the phases of a patent application? And what are the important things to keep in mind when conducting a patent analysis? A second module would be about the patent intelligent tools. So we will put our hands on free access tools like Google Patents that you might have heard of, and SpaceNet and some other tools. So you will have the opportunity to play a little bit with your own data and play a little bit with some useful exercises and case studies that we have prepared. And a third module, data processing. So you will not only be able to create your own queries and interrogate the IP databases that we will provide you, but you will also be able to know and understand how delicate and critical the data processing part is. So as I was mentioning before, having a clean data set, having the ability to be sure that my data are talking exactly of what I'm interested in is a very crucial part of the job. I would say the most crucial. And in the end, last but not least, IP data interpretation. So we will talk about how data visualization, patent information, patent text actually can be interpreted for the sake of business decisions and R&D decisions. So that's it. That's all from my side. I'll leave the floor again to Christian for the final conclusions.
Thank you, Giovanni. You can leave it. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you all of you for your participation. But I would like to also give the floor to our participants, as this new course, especially that you've told us about, is designed to actually enrich them on understanding. And I like how you presented all of this long list of activities, long list of tasks that you need to do before the interpretation, but highlighting in the beginning exactly the point that the interpretation is the most important side. What do you do with this data? So I urge our listeners today to maybe ask you also some new questions concerning the cases, concerning the new course, but also if you have a particular question to Dolores about the way the databases work. For instance, Giovanni, if I may, just a curious question on my side. And Renvik, I will give you the floor immediately after I abuse my power as the moderator. You were saying about this, oh my God, SPICE case, right? And how you actually did this diagram where this type of technologies were developing. Did you use kind of like, because before that, Dolores was speaking about this integration of augmented intelligence in these IP data tools. Did you use AI to create these graphs, to actually select the cases themselves?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We actually used one of our, proprietary software, which, is AI-based. So we have the opportunity to exploit the functionality of software that tries to guess what the technical problem, actually the real technical problem disclosed within the patent is, because inventors and attorneys try to hide information and try to hide what the real topic is. So what we're working on is what we've been working on during the last 2-3 years is a software that can guess the technical information and technical content of a patent. But we're not a billion company, a billion word company. So our methodology rely both on AI-based solution, but the work and the role of our, of our experts is crucial. So the interpretation of the suggestions, let's say, that the software gives is a crucial part of the analyst.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that illustrates very well how it works from the previous Dolores' presentation, that you actually use AI, not as the final answer, but as the Santa's little helper, let's put it this way.
Exactly.
Sorry, Randveig, please go ahead.
Thank you. Giovanni, thank you so much to advertising the course that we will be running later this year. I just wanted to add a little thing, because you talked about the main three parts of the program. But for those of you that might be worried about fundamental knowledge, we also offer some support parts. So if you need to be a little better at dealing with data sets, or you don't have that much experience, we will also offer some modules that you can use along the way to start, if that's what you need, or if you discover along the way there are some holes that you need to fill. We are trying to provide a set of resources for that too. So don't get discouraged, just join us and see how it goes. And I have a question for Dolores, as promised. So I really liked your comments regarding that the problem with some of the AI solutions is the centrality, and that they go for the main topics, while the innovation and the opportunities might actually be more on the edges and the more discrete parts of the set of information and potentials. So what's the solution to do that? Because if IE is missing some of the areas that might be most important, how do we find them?
Yeah, I think the first step is, of course, all of these AI tools are being developed, right? They're constantly being further developed. So I think understanding this is a big first step, right? Kind of understanding this and then trying to, especially in an area like dealing with IP data, patent data, and so on, to bring in elements in the algorithms that do kind of pay attention to things that are marginal. I mean, it's of course, I think this question of this knowledge collapse is a wider question, but I think in particular, if I answer just for IP tools, that might be. I think for one of the things we've discovered so far, just looking at them and analyzing what you get from them, is this, that they do seem to bring diversity in results. It's due to nowadays the data input, because most of these are actually quite good and rich in the data they have. But it is in the algorithms and how they work. So maybe diversity in how these algorithms have been developed is actually a benefit, because we see tools that were originally developed by these small proactive groups. Some of them are now part of these bigger systems because they've just been acquired along the way. But I think maybe we can still see the richness of this, that some tools were developed by, big organizations with centralized departments and guys sitting there, kind of maybe even more business logic, versus quite a few that are still on the market, maybe not as, individual tools as such, but they're still on the market under the auspices of these big providers. I don't know, maybe Giovanni has also a comment on that, since they developed their own. So well, I guess,
I won't say that this is our strategy, but I will not say that this is not our strategy. I mean, it's something that we are thinking about, of getting merged into bigger companies. So it's actually a very common strategy that you see around when you look at small companies, startups, or research centers that are developing AI solutions. So to be acquired from larger companies, just because, I mean, when you are I mean, I'm very simplistic here, but when you are a small company, what you're lacking is cash flow. So merging with larger companies allows you to invest really on a bigger scale, on a different level. So your ideas can become reality, and I mean, it's a very common strategy, actually.
But Dolores, how I understand you is also that if I'm an innovator or a small business owner trying to look for edges where there is room for innovation, looking for where these different IE tools disagree might be one of the place to look for the edges.
Might be. We've not gone, so this is an ongoing research. So I us academics, we don't answer questions before we have real answers. But yeah, that might be.
It's my working hypothesis.
Yeah. So things that look in a way unfavorable at the beginning when you look at them, if you think about it and the general problems that are relating to this area, they may actually be a benefit for now. So like Giovanni said, having these groups, they develop, of course, even when they get merged, but still the logic is probably a bit different from the tools that Bureau van Dijk or some of these big players in the market are applying when they're trying to build it up, from different reasons, including the cash reason, Giovanni. You try to do it perhaps in a different way, and still get the same results. So yeah.
Okay, so
and if I may add, I mean, since Dolores mentioned PatSnap, that's a really particular case that we also monitored during the last 2-3 years, but not because I mean the money that they raised, but just because the strategy, because they based their strategy on the technical part. I mean, they stressed the AI part of their technical solution, and which is, I mean, not, I mean, it's quite strange actually in the IP software development sector, because if you look at, for example, at Devant, at Clarivate, sorry, Clarivate strategy, I mean, Clarivate is one of the other big players, big names in the field. What they do, I mean, from my perspective at least, they buy data.
Yeah.
They buy and sell data. So their strategy is focused on the amplification and resonation of data. So they're interested in buying a company that works with business data, and a company that works with IP data, and companies that work with litigation data, and put them together to provide customers a one place to go to have an overview of business, IP, litigations, and whatsoever. So you can have different strategies, but what we are looking at in the last years is that AI and the technical aspects of the provided software is a key, can become a key.
It is interesting what you're saying, because at this point, I mean, we've observed this so many years ago that knowledge is become a value to be sold, right? And with this AI, these IP databases are becoming even more trending as sources of knowledge. And because, like, as exactly you say, like cleaning this data, making sense out of what you see, and probably just goes again back to what Dolores was saying previously on the side of having these 3 V's here: volume, velocity, and generally the big data changing and being hard to interpret. So maybe this AI would make these tools more available for the SMEs, for smaller players, rather than big ones who previously had exactly what you say, the resources to do this. And this is quite an interesting story, and especially your cases, highlighting this, how the analytics, the business analytics done through the IPR databases is actually a way to fight the startup fears, which is probably one of the biggest obstacles in the development of a business and the putting your idea on the market. Will it work? Will it not? So I'm risking my well-being on developing this idea in this company. So does it have a chance? Is it a good research? Do I have enough research data to provide that, yes, this is an idea that I must go on for? So this is probably not only an important aspect in the terms of how we perceive the economic landscape, but also in the way how this technology would shape the social aspects of that. Because, well, having this helper to SMEs would be a big step forward when integrated properly and more in the more widely, probably, like having these startups getting better concepts, better ideas, and also having this kind of social impact carried out through the success of smaller teams who can provide their innovations on the markets. That is a very interesting topic to discuss as well. But I do also invite our listeners to consider this relevance and consider the importance, therefore, of the upcoming course that is IP for Digital. Am I right, Giovanni?
Right.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure that I get the name right. So please join us, and probably we take one more question if there is some. You can raise your hand maybe, or put it in chat. Well, I guess this is a big topic and it requires a little bit of a settling down of the ideas. Thank you everyone for being with us. Thank you, Dolores. Thank you, Giovanni, for sharing your time, for sharing your ideas. It's been a very interesting debate. It's been an interesting presentation of what is happening in the business world and how this intellectual property can be applied to a better and more sustainable societies. Thank you, everyone. And see you during our next activities. Follow up our project if you're interested in more. We have newsletters, we have a webpage, Facebook, and all of these interesting social media connections so that you can not forget about that. Subscribe to our newsletters if you're interested in the course, because that would be probably one of the most direct ways for you to know and learn about our activities. And check our previous work. It's quite also interesting. We'll make it available as soon as we can. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.